All right, hello and welcome to the next episode of Spitfire. We are at number 18, which does make us one of the longest running Call of Duty podcasts there is, or has ever been, apart from maybe the weekly rant. I don't know if that was a podcast or a show. We'll figure it out. Anyway. Yeah, it was a good show. Anyway, getting on with this week, of course, my name is Bryce. I'll be here bringing up the topics that are hot in COD at the moment. Joining me, of course, Chris Tunn, my co-host, and the guy who will ever have good production or bad production. It's a mixed bag.
It's going to be good now.
But more importantly, our guest for this the show, not a weekend, just this one show. It's, of course, Reedy returning once again. Reedy, I know you were very much looking forward to coming on this show because of the topics this week. But I'm sure you're going to have kind of a lot to say about them. But how are you, first of all?
All right, let's get this out of the way. Everyone that's going to be roasting, why the hell is Reedy back on the podcast? I'm pretty knowledgeable. Just listen to some of the things I say. Don't get on my back, all right?
This is interesting because I'm
back to be here. It feels good to be back here, but yeah.
First of all, thank you very much. And I get it, right? Like, from my understanding, we'll cover this first, right? Because that is quite interesting that you brought that up. I know Reedy for quite a while. I've known Reedy for quite a while, I should say. And I know him from a personal point of view, and to be honest with you, his personal kind of the way he is, he's not fake to anybody, but you do come across quite abrasive when they see you on the clips or, on Twitter. But and that does lead a few people to either marmite you, either love or hate you. But I generally think, if people hung around with you and spent time, they would generally get along with you very well. I think it's just because, in the public side, it's very easy, especially when, you're not winning everything, for people to just hate on players.
Yeah, no, I get that. But I just wanted about 3 years ago, so. But no, I'm joking. Like, it's like you said, you either love me or hate me, but majority of the stuff that gets taken is like a 30-second clip of a 4-minute conversation. So it's just like, all right, then cool. Like, see me how you want, but just stop jumping on the podcast back for having me on. You know what I mean? I enjoy doing this.
I said this before. Like, you are more. Well, I'll quite happily replace Tunn for you at any point, especially since Tunn is the reason we keep having to skip episodes. Yeah, we're going to drop in the spirit of rostermania. We're having a shift up on Spitfire.
Yeah, we are dropping the person that runs it. Yeah, great. Yeah, that's about how everything else has been going. To the past
years. I can run it. I can stream now and everything's brilliant. Anyway, let's get into this topic here because it is one that we are definitely going to go off on tangents about. And I was racking my brains figuring out how to start this, and the way we were actually going to cover the rest of the Pro League results, but because of when this podcast is and everything, it's been so long. The main thing we need to talk about here is rostermania. Rostermania has hit, and it has hit hard. Some moves are unconfirmed, but the biggest problem at the moment seems to be mainly Midnight and Accelerate. Yeah. It seems to be a lot of people are very. So let's just talk about that. The Accelerate roster, right? Apparently they've dropped their roster. People are upset.
Apparently they have.
All right.
It's official.
And they have. It's interesting to me the way the community is viewing this because technically, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and I'll put my actual opinions out later in this. Technically, from what I understand, Accelerate have broken no rules.
No, not right.
As far as I'm concerned, just get out there. Accelerate had technically not broken any rules apart from maybe it's ethically in a bit of a grey area.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a rule of being a dickhead, then they've fully broke that rule, but I just...
The way I look at it is, man, I hadn't... Right, long story short, at the start of this game, my team, me, Steve O'Dens, Moose, and Hawkeye needed an organization.
Mm-hmm.
Accelerate approached us. I spoke to the guy. I knew he didn't have much money. I said, like, how much can you give me? He's sitting there offering 3 to 4K a month. I'm like, where's your money coming from? What's your investment? He goes, Daddy's money. I'm like, I'm not signing with you. Simple as that. Like, this guy is not knowledgeable. I'm not giving you... Every player knew it was going to be like this. Like, the orgs were going to run stuff this year because they're getting ready for franchising. That's how it works in franchising. Yes, the orgs like Accelerate and Midnight should not have franchising power. They're not knowledgeable enough, and they're run by fucking idiots. This Justin guy is an absolute moron. The fact that I didn't even agree numbers with him, and he had a contract in my email. My team wanted to sign with him as well. That's the worst thing about it. But I was like, we're not doing this because if we qualify for the league, that would have been us. Like, no matter what you put in a contract, they would have just breached that shit. And then as COD players, majority of us probably don't have the money or the resources to go get an actual lawyer and pursue legal action. MLG ain't going to help you. I've had issues in the past. MLG ain't going to help you. They're not lawyers. They're there. They put on the event for you. They make sure you're all right at the events. They do a great job, but then it's not their job at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's the players' fault and the org's fault. Like, they should never have signed with them in the first place, and the org's a little scummy prick. Man.
Well, we've got Return to Spitfire in the greatest of ways, haven't we? I mean, this is back on par. All right, there's a lot to unpack there, Reedy, from what you've just said. Give me a second. Right, I think the best place to start is something that I've been seeing a lot of recently that I do want to talk about. The MLG situation. Now, it's interesting that people keep aiming at MLG when technically MLG really haven't done anything wrong.
No, they haven't.
We've got to remember that MLG have set up this massive infrastructure and everything going on. The issue at the moment being is that we are basically rocketing towards franchising, and that is putting a lot of kind of instability around what people are going to be doing. And players want good wages for the league, but we know that it's coming next year, so you might not even have that brand recognition next year. MLG aren't involved between players and organizations because they genuinely have no reason to be. It would be a massive legal liability for them. It would basically mean that you'd have to go through them for each of your contract. It'd be insane for them to be involved. Honestly, I know people saying, they could set up these regulations and so on and so forth. And I saw this thing today about, MLG have the right to revoke licenses. Of course they do. It's fine. However, when it gets into franchising, maybe it'll be a little bit different because, if a team is taking advantage of their players and so on and so forth. But again, this comes back to my point in the beginning. According to all the rules that have been set out, they haven't done anything. I haven't seen a rule that XLRA have broken yet. No. So I don't get the part where MLG are being blamed for anything. They literally shouldn't be part of this conversation.
Have you watched Brett Breezy's video, whatever you say his name?
No, I was trying to catch it earlier.
Watch that video. If an MLG employee sees that video with the blackmailing and all that kind of stuff, I generally think MLG should revoke their license.
Well, take me through the points of it, because I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
Long story short, there was owed money. He was sitting there saying, I can just drop you all and sign new players, saying that kind of stuff to him. It's completely unacceptable at the end of the day. Like, no wonder they weren't competitive after they dropped Baller. They were probably scared. Like, they were playing scared. Like, they knew they're not.
I mean, they could go to the toilet for weeks.
And the thing is, as well, it sounds like part of the decision of dropping Fastball that was in with the Hulk. Like, they were pressuring it. Yes, it sounds like there was issues, but it sounds like they pressured it as well. But I just think, like, basically, what it sounds like, they have to keep at least one person out of the 6-man, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what sounds like happening is basically the whole of the XXLRA, even Fastballer who got dropped, they're all refusing to sign contracts with them.
Yeah, they're refusing to be on the bench.
So if they don't have one player left, then what happens then? That's a question. Like, do they get their license revoked from? Because that's what it is. If anybody at home doesn't understand, it's a case of the organization you qualify under, they get the license.
I'm getting it. Where is this rule? Where is this rule?
It's in the player handbook. So when
I've seen the rule about MLG revoking, but is there a clause in there that says if they, if an org breaks faith with players, or if an org does X, Y, and Z with players? Because this is what I'm getting at here is. To dive into that situation would involve Activision become directly involved in a dispute between players and organizations, which they never have done, and I very strongly suspect they almost never will. Maybe in franchising they'll take a hard line on it, and there'll be people dealing with it, but still haven't seen any rule regarding what's currently going on, because they are allowed to do this. Now, what we said earlier is that this probably is more on the players. The fact that, in their contracts or whatever, that Accelerate have this power to just go, you know what, sign with us, we'll give you whatever bullshit. Because apparently, I'm guessing their contracts run out. I'm guessing that's what's happened.
It's supposed to.
They've got a current contract. Or...
Yeah. But I mean, like, this is another thing that Beezy says, that they were being offered contracts and they wanted to try and tie them in until after franchising, and they were like, well, no. And then that's to the point of when he started saying, well, if you don't sign this, I'm just going to start looking for other people. So, I mean, for me, though, it just seems like some kid trying to make some fast money off it. Like, it doesn't... It's
do you know what the mad thing is, Tom? When I had the meeting with him, Literally just Justin guy. The maddest thing about this all was I knew this guy didn't have the money, but we were still thinking of going with him for the short term. And I was like, oh, like once we qualify for the league, if we qualify for the league, you can sell us. And I shit you not, quote word for word, no, we want to build something here. We do not want a quick buck.
It's bollocks,
that's word for word. I know it's bollocks now. I knew it was fucking bollocks. I knew it was his shit coming out of his mouth. I've heard all this stuff before. Hence why we didn't fucking go with him. Because he was a mong. Like the J guy, Jordanio guy on Twitter, he's a very lovely guy.
He seems nice.
Love him to pieces. Yeah. And he was my in, like, to speak to him. And then I said to him, like, I just don't trust this idiot. Like, come on, man.
I think it's interesting because, and if you're watching this and you're a fan or whatever of Call of Duty and stuff, this has been going on ever since I first started in the esport. Ever since, there's always been org owners who, you know, do various things that people don't agree with. But my issue has always been is that if you sign a contract that doesn't give you any sort of protection, and don't get me wrong, right? Because some of what this point out, this will put another point I was going to bring up. Someone said, I think it might be Magco who said, you know, our player wants to play regardless because they're going to take a step back in their career. Of course, but you can put things in that basically talk about, well, if you do get dropped, there's a payday. If you know you get subbed, you're still going to be paid. Because then you start making things expensive for an org to change players. And when that starts happening, you're actually less likely to be dropped. Then you have some leverage, right? You go to a pro, they go, oh, we're going to bench you and, you know, for 6 months. You're like, well, that's going to be shit. Well, I am going to be paid for 6 months. And then they'll be trying to, you know, curtail that off, you know? And that's why buyouts for both sides should exist.
Yeah.
Like, and this is when you start trying to figure things out. Also, your contract should never, ever end in the middle of a year. Not unless you think you can, you know, especially when you knew what this year was coming into with the lock. Like, I just don't get it. It's very confusing for me.
I mean, in hindsight, hindsight's a wonderful thing, I suppose, for these guys. But I think what BZ said in these videos, like, you know, it's not like they had a line of orgs, that sort of thing. And I think at the start of the year, you sort of cling on what you can get and sort of just think it's going to be fine. But I hope this is a really big lesson to a lot of people. And to be honest, like, we know, like, we will talk about what we put in the chat, like, about in terms of the other guys that are going to go under this Accelerate name. Mm-hmm. How could you trust them, for one? After everything that's went on, how on earth could you join that organization and think, I'm in the pro league, great?
I don't think they do. They just want, you're in a pro league, you're being paid. If you weren't in the pro league to begin with, you're going, well, hey, you know, sign me up, daddy. I'll sign anything you like. It's like your career could be over. You sign that paper. You sign that paper every day. I'm
not going to lie to you. If they came to me today and were like, listen, Reedy, you can play in the pro league, I'd probably sign it.
You would, but okay, yeah. But how could you trust them?
You're not going to trust them. You're just going to take it with a pinch of salt. Like, all right, cool, I ain't going to get paid a salary in that, but at least I'm going to be playing in the pro league, and that could aspire to better things. Mm-hmm. Like, you never know, you could impress a team. Like, I get to be around the players and little push on their egos and be like, listen, mate, like, we could be teaming next split. Bang, straight off that team into a great org.
Yeah.
Bit like what.
But here's the thing: like, you'd sign it and accept that you may get kicked in the balls at some other point, but you need to have those balls to be kicked. Like, and that's exactly what's happening. Someone else pointed out something interesting here about Space Lee, because he got dropped from Gen G, right? And Gen G is a good org, from what I understand. It's a good org.
Oh no, it's definitely a good org. They're in Overwatch franchise and they've had experience. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. So two ends of the spectrum here. But people are upset Space has been dropped, and I'm saying, you know, this also, you have to understand this is going to happen. All right, there is no, oh, you know, you're a pro player, you're always going to be a pro player no matter what happens. You can grind, you can work your balls off, and you can still have it taken away. Mm-hmm. Because there's people saying, you know, his contract was pretty good, and if his contract was pretty good, awesome. You know, he's going to be paid. Admittedly, it is a massive step back. This is what Matt brought. It is a step back. It is like, you know, taking 3 steps back and going back in the hand bracket. But you know what? Sometimes I'm not saying it's fair, right? I'm not sympathetic. I'm not, you know, saying it's good. It's fine. You know, I'm glad he's in the air. All I'm saying is that this is a competitive environment, not just for the players, but for the orgs and the brands and the people who are trying to make money out of it. This shit is going to happen. It's going to happen.
Well, that just comes back to with what I said 4 weeks ago, 2 months ago. I don't think the system is fair this year. I don't think you should be able to make unlimited roster changes. I don't think that's fair. I know MLG want the best of the best in the Pro League, and it's going to be very cutthroat. But I'd like, if it was a franchise, right? So if it was a franchising league, and these orgs paid in, and the orgs have full control. They paid in, they put up the money, they put up the bucks, they picked the players they want, but they didn't. Players had to work their asses off and qualify. So I don't think it should be like that. Why should Fastballer and that qualify for the league and then get that ripped away from them?
I think it's an oversight.
If it's like how it's meant to be next year, where you got to pay in, then I get it. Okay, I fully get it. But you shouldn't be able to make unlimited roster changes when you
I think you should still be able to
and there should be a relegation this year.
I think the thing is with having no relegation and stuff, the fact is that they can't like then get relegated, so you can't lose that spot. That's it for the rest of the season, unless you want to sell it, of course. So that's where my issue lies with the fact that you can completely change that roster, because then you could just use somebody to get in and then replace it with the team that you deem suitable. Which is, for me, I think you should have had to keep at least like maybe 2 or 3 members of the original team that qualified. It should be 3 for the team that qualified, to then at least give the players some sort of leverage in this situation, because other than that, they've got nothing apart from hopefully the org doesn't sell me and fuck me over. The Gen G conversation, though, that's not necessarily about like Gen G, the organization. I still stand at the point, I think Space, they're being dropped from a team that was doing fantastic as well as Gen G was doing. I don't get it, personally.
Wait, here's the other thing, right?
That's
So
a
there's so much
completely
about that, because I'm trying to play devil's advocate here, regardless of my own feelings, because I know there's a lot of negativity towards orgs at the moment, and I don't want this to be like a witch hunt, because that's just not the way it's going. So first things we got to unpack here is, if you talk about what's happening with these businesses and stuff, we don't know all the details on the interior. We just don't. We hear from players mostly. So we don't know what's happening in Gen G. I think there was Mox replied on Gen G dropping Spacey, and he just deleted them. He did delete them. It's on Reddit. It's on Reddit now.
Did you not see the tweet I retweeted though when
when Space is just, to be honest with you, like that whole situation, Space even tweeted out, like they stopped seeing eye to eye. They didn't respect his opinion anymore. So it was probably for the best. Like, he isn't crying over spilt milk. You know what I mean?
He's
like,
not.
He doesn't care.
I just think the situation.
Well, he does care, obviously.
Yeah,
it's a completely sucky situation for him. But at the end of the day, from change, they felt like a change had to happen. The players, and at least it wasn't the org. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes players are very blindsided, and they only think the grass is greener on the other side, and they should, like, maybe Nubsy did have a big say in it. But like, if Nubsy had a big say in that, I respect the decision, because then he's someone that's not as the players. He's not as emotionally involved in it all. Well, he is obviously, but like,
I just think from the position they're in, I see. Look, I said you don't know what goes on internally. We've said this time and time again. You know, when I talked about how I thought Bance was underperforming and could potentially be dropped, you don't know about the team internally. So it's easy to say from the outside, but it's, at the end of the day, it is those players in the inside of that team that know the best for what's for the team. For me, though, I still personally thought that was like shit. And just like to confirm, you know, this is being rumored all over Reddit and all over Twitter that it seems to be Envoy going in this position. And I just think I know we're moving away from like slandering Accelerate for a second.
That Midnight team is breaking up. Am I shocked?
Well, no, it's.
Am I shocked? Wait, hold on a minute. Am I shocked? Is Envoy going to a better team? Because I'm not sure.
Well, he's ended up on a very good team in the end.
Yeah, no, but their team was doing well, but they're still breaking up. And it was, wait, hold on. I said give them 6 months, and they're already breaking up a month or 2 in. Crazy.
Bet you were buzzing.
Well, I don't know breaking up.
I'm not buzzing at all.
They're not.
Hey, even if the team's staying together, like they were going on like they were the best thing since sliced bread. Yet someone's still ready to jump ship. Am I wrong?
Yeah. Well, so right. Okay. Should I mean?
I'll drink my tea. In fact, I'll drink my drink.
Like 8 teams.
Right, can we just confirm the situation? According to rumors, I know Bricey doesn't like to talk rumors, but I feel like it's very relevant.
I hate talking rumors. Yeah, go on.
So according to the rumor, Midnight's roster is going to accelerate without Envoy. Instead of Envoy, it looks like Blast is going in with that Midnight roster to accelerate, and then moving over into the Midnight roster is a bunch of pros that didn't qualify. which hasn't been confirmed yet who exactly it is. But Midnight are picking up a whole new team, Accelerate are picking up a whole new team, and Jersey are making a change.
Yeah.
Although Accelerate are picking up... Yeah.
I should point out, first of all, while I've heard the same thing, none of this is confirmed.
No, it's not.
None of this is like...
I can't wait for it to be confirmed, though, because everyone that called me a spastic retard, I'm going to sit there and laugh in their faces.
And that's just your friends. All right, let's bring this way back on the topic, because the other issue I have with what is going on right now with rostermania is that it seems to have garnered the attention of the wider esports community.
Scoots is pissed.
So Sir Scoots has mentioned this. Now I know Scoots, and we've worked together.
You like to mention that so much.
Oh yeah, get it, man. You've worked with
Don't worry.
before.
I'm sorry. I don't think he's a very big fan of mine. But if people, the reason I'm bringing this up is because people don't know Scoots that much. If you know the esports community, he knows his shit, right? And the best thing about him is he's no longer reliant on esports or anything. He doesn't need to be involved, but he is one of the OGs of esports. So he's quite happy to just call out bullshit as he sees it, and he has been going in today, and that's fine. That's his prerogative, but it does obviously shine a negative light on the Call of Duty community. Not that it's his fault, he's going to call out bullshit when he sees it, but obviously it has garnered the attention of the wider community. How on earth has a team who have worked their way into the Pro League suddenly just been kicked to death and shoved to the side, new team coming in? And people don't like that very much. It's a big thing. I can't remember very often of that ever happening in any sort of major context before, where unless you've had a team change or been bought over or whatever in that regard. And it does kind of make you wonder what on earth Accelerate are playing at. Like, this is not good press. How are you building something when you're burning every bridge around you?
Well, it's daddy's money at the end of the day. The org's not going to be there. I mean, the Midnight thing about, do you know what blew my mind? I know we're straying here, but when the Midnight owner said, oh, we've got contracts that are going to be 220K for the next 2 years, like, brother, I'm sorry to break it to you. When it goes to franchising, you have not got the P to invest into franchising. Then players are gone. These big orgs are going to come and take them off you. You need to relax yourself for 1 second there, sitting there going out like, oh, we offered them this and that and this and that. Like, you're not getting a franchise in League Sport. It's just not happening.
We still haven't done our franchising episode because it's just so big to cover all of the franchises. And here's how big the franchising episode is going to be. We're actually putting out invites months in advance to try and figure out if we can stack the thing, because there's so much that not only, like, even myself, and I've looked into it a bit, there's so much, you have to unpack and figure out and say the right thing, because it is, I don't want to end up in court for saying dumb stuff. But it is a lot to understand on the franchising model. And you can compare it to Overwatch and all that sort of stuff and what it all goes through. But it's, for me, like, heading towards this franchise, bear in mind, by the way, like, franchising isn't confirmed. Like, it's just not confirmed. It's
no,
on
it
the
is, I swear.
Is it? Well, I could
have sworn that the investors said, or someone.
Yeah, it was in a financial meeting.
Yeah.
But that's it. We've heard the minutes of a meeting. That's it. Like, that's all we've got. There's no official statement. There's no official statement. There's no nothing. So yeah, we've had the investor call confirmed it. However, like, it's still not been officially announced, and things do change. So who knows? Admittedly, it does seem like it's on the wall.
Just a quick one. I just want to jump in. And Mark, I have whispered you the invite to the call, so we can get Mark in.
Watch Mark mess up your everything.
Oh, it's going to mess it up. Absolutely no doubt.
Yeah. But I don't know. So for me, this Accelerate thing is so interesting, because I actually tweeted out a story earlier about contracts, that players sometimes don't want to go to the hassle, and this is the worst part, right? Is you could say it, but because it is more work, they don't always want to go to the hassle of dealing with paperwork. I know very few pros who've ever bothered to get a contract changed from the original one they've given. Yeah, but admittedly, we're good friends, and I would badger the shit out of you if you didn't.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised the amount of pros are quite happy to just go, yeah, that'll do. Or let their teammates do it. Let their teammates go, oh, yeah, this is good. This will be fine, you know. Just, I'll sign it.
Here's
when
Mark
you're
messing my shit up.
Brilliant. You got the 4-1 ready, have you?
Yeah, it'll take 2 minutes.
Yeah. All right, we do that while we've been talking. MarkyB, you all right?
Hello there.
Hello there, Marky. You going to turn your cam on? You not got a cam?
I've got a cam if you want me to use it. Have you got the graphic, Chris?
Yeah.
I'm doing it. Yeah,
Whoa,
just
I just heard someone
it.
called Tunny Chris. I've lost full.
It's weird, isn't it? Yeah. No, I'm all over it, pal. Don't worry.
I've not done my hair today, so I'm gonna have to say you gotta love it.
Yeah, you can't.
If you go
You
into
can't see
video
me, yeah,
settings,
maybe
Marky,
that's it.
you can turn on
Can you
HD.
see me?
Yeah, no, we can. If you go into video settings, you can turn on HD. It's great. We're using a new system, by the way. It actually works really quite well.
Yeah,
can
but
turn
the
off
hell's gonna set it
HD.
up.
What the hell is video settings?
Right next to stop
the bottom.
video, there's a little arrow going up.
Yeah.
It just take me 2 minutes to do
It
this.
says it just says select the camera for me.
No,
Video
video
settings.
settings.
Literally underneath the cameras.
Yeah.
I'm using the browser version. I don't know if that's like.
That'll
No,
probably
it's
be
all
why.
right. Don't mind.
Oh yeah, okay. Who knows then?
Yeah. Literally just am I?
It's not. It's definitely not there for me.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not. Apparently, I'm using the app that I didn't know I had.
But who cares?
So you've had this app the
You
whole
still
time.
look good, Marky. You still look good.
All right.
Right. So where we currently are, we're talking about this whole. The reason things are so unstable in COD at the moment is because franchising is on the horizon, and this is leaving a lot of things up in the air in regards to contracts, in regards to players. There's no relegation anymore. The rules are now big changes. Everyone seems quite eager right now to just kick Accelerate, which is admittedly just a bad move for Accelerate because their brand is taking a massive hit today, and I'm wondering if they're panicking now because this has happened. Because no matter how well this new team does, unless they literally become phenoms and win everything from now on, which isn't really going to happen, the fans are going to think the brand is terrible. Like, how can you build something when you've just taken such a PR hit as this?
Yeah, I think it's
I
terrible.
haven't seen any official statement either.
They have came out and announced the dropping of the team or whatever, but I don't think they've announced why or really went in depth into it. To be honest with you, I think it's just a bad move overall from them. I think the rules allow it, but at
Just
the
because they
same
allow
time,
it doesn't mean you should do it.
yeah, I mean those rules are there for not to be used in the way they've been used, but I mean I guess it's just worked out that way. I mean Reedy predicted it to happen, so all hail King Reedy. All hail King Reedy.
I think it yeah, all right. Don't like saying Reedy's right, but I don't know. For me, I just can't see the. I was actually going to reach out to Accelerate before this podcast and get the chance to do it for an official statement on it all, because I think it would be interesting to hear from their side. Not that saying that their side would be true or that the player side is all true, but it's interesting. And I also know that. Oh, here's a point actually that Reedy brought up earlier. I forgot about this. Reedy, you said that the orgs have been given too much power, and that this has allowed them because obviously they have control of the spot they didn't earn because the players earned this spot by competing and going in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have two issues with that. The first should be the quick one. So the first one is the fact that Accelerate paid the player. They didn't pay for the spot, but they paid the players for their opportunity to stick their brand on it, and they knew what they were getting. Right? Accelerate were paying those players in anticipation of getting that league spot. That's one of the main. What would be one of the main reasons Accelerate were paying the players a salary. So I have to disagree with that. You know, they didn't.
Okay,
they did technically buy in. The second is kind of the more interesting one, in the fact that if it was the other way around, there would definitely be players abusing the system the other way. Like 100%. If they had control of it and they would be squeezing every org they could for as much money as possible. And if their contracts were up at this same time in this year and they had a good record, you would probably be just entertaining just dropping your org and just going to find another payday. And it would create significant instability in the fact that no org will want to invest when they don't have any power. And that's why the system is like it is. So I thought we had to go back to that and clarify that position, because I disagreed with the sentiment that, you know, the players didn't know what they were getting into and they didn't have, you know, they earned it and all that sort of stuff. Because if you go the other way, it has its own share of problems.
So the way I look at it is, All right, the players are idiots for signing with this guy anyway in the first place. I've already said that.
Oh,
The
yeah,
guy's
I
an
think
actual
we got it,
fucking mong, right? But it wasn't like they were getting paid like. I mean, actually, they were getting paid what $1,000, I think it was, in BZ's video. And as soon as they qualified for the league, that's when he stopped paying them. That's not right. He had to message him 30 times within a month and a half to get
Yeah, I mean, it's not the only thing.
Why is that a bad word?
It's not good. Anyway, but it's not the only.
Right. So like, as soon as they qualify for the league, and I think Jay, who worked at ExG, if you watch BZ's video, said the owner wasn't expecting them to qualify, which is mad.
But then that comes back. Why has he not just sold the team spot off? Like that's a bit.
I thought they were meant to sell it, but I think MLG stopped it. Because I can't remember what org it was, man. Because I was teaming with McGee, and McGee told me it was like some red brand in name.
Here's the. I don't.
I think MLG stopped it.
So here's the thing in the chat. I don't know how true. Someone says he was supposed to sell the team. He said Wildcard.
Wildcard. That might
yeah, because that came up. Yeah, that was in the video. They were trying to sell the team. Sold the team.
Yes, Wildcard GG. Yeah, that was on the COD World League page or something like that, was it not?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
so they sold it, and then BZ got in touch with them,
it.
and in terms of sorting the contracts out, and they were like, "Oh, well, we haven't even been sent your contract yet," so they basically blocked it from there, and then LG blocked it or something as well. So they tried to get rid of them, and then even fucked up doing that. Like,
I just think MLG need to strip him, man, straight up. Like, I know, yeah, the org should like whatever. They're not. I don't know, man. Like, well, I get what you're saying, Bryce, but I don't in the same way. They shouldn't be able to just.
If MLG rip that org spot away, it sets a precedent. Whether or not it's a good precedent or not, like in this business, an org doesn't want to. Admittedly, like again, it sets a precedent that MLG could rip an org away if they do something they don't like, not against the rules that they don't like. And whether or not, I know a lot of people are saying it's fine. We don't like what Accelerate's done, and I think most people are thinking this is a bad thing that Accelerate's done, dropping the whole roster or whatever, right? But they still haven't broken any rules. So for the MLG to do it would just be a horrible precedent set, and it's just them getting involved in all player policies. I don't think it's ever going to happen, and I'd actually kind of lean on the safe side and say I wouldn't like it to happen because I don't want that precedent to be set at this point. Whether or not, no matter how shit this is awful. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is fine. I'm saying that this is. I don't think that is the right way to go at the moment, other than revenge, which seems petty.
Yeah.
MLG aren't going to get involved themselves. I don't think that would be a good move for MLG. I think that realistically, this all just comes down to the contract that was signed just not protecting themselves. I think obviously they've still been screwed over at the end of the day. But I think in future, unfortunately, these guys are just a lesson for everyone else going forward.
Yeah.
In future, not to allow this sort of thing to happen. But obviously, we're getting to a point now where it's going to be a bit different in the future. So. But like you'd feel like these guys would have learned, because I feel like most of the top European teams are like teams that were like supposed to qualify or like thought they could qualify, sort of put themselves in a position where they were aware of this sort of thing being a possibility and not signing with the dodgy organisations and signing protection clauses in their contracts, etc.
Yeah. So there's people.
Naive.
I see the chat. I think that this is the next bit we cover.
The thing is with that is that's between the players and the organisation. That's a thing for them to bring up. Just the Premier League wouldn't get involved because you don't like if it was in like football. As I said, like the Premier League wouldn't get involved if somebody hadn't paid somebody. The governing body of players would get involved, but guess what? We don't have. We don't have anything like that. So that's between the player and the organisation. MLG. They don't represent the players. We'll definitely go into the whole players should have some sort of representation, because I mean you've harped on about it for years, and I agree with you. We absolutely need.
Every event I've ever been to.
Yeah. It's almost like we've tried to sell the dream to people before, haven't we, Bryce? You said, "Oh, this would be a
Bryce is low-key buzzing this happened."
He's
so
like,
he can lick
he's
I'm
so
not
for
buzzing.
only 25% of your monthly contract.
I'm not buzzing. I'm not buzzing. I am slightly smug that I have brought, admittedly, because I can't remember who did it last event. Is he going on about bloody representation again? because it is necessary. But here's the thing. So this is in the chat that's been brought up. Not on or in contract is a rule breaking. Surely, where is this rule? I need to see the actual rule because I don't see that as a rule other than MLG have discretion to remove the spot. And the second thing is, MLG should get involved if football players were contracted and then you get paid or were threatened something would happen. No, that's I'm afraid that's quite wrong. What's happening here is you got to remember, think of it as almost employees or free contractors here. If your contracts, your boss said, by the way, here's your new contract, we have to take a pay cut this year, and you went no, you went, well, you have to, or we're going to fire you. That's not blackmail. That's admittedly it is illegal in some places and various things here. But like, if you don't get the pay rise you want, and you choose to walk away and not work for that team, and we're not blackmailed by doing it. Well, this is a horrible situation. They are extorting a little bit the players in their situation here and taking advantage of them, 100%. Mm-hmm. But it's in the realms of what they agreed to when they signed up. It's a terrible. And don't get me wrong, because I feel like I'm being really on the side of the orgs here, but I'm doing it to kind of counterpoint a lot of what's being said. Do I agree with this? No. Do I think that Accelerate have made a right decision? No, I think Accelerate have made possibly one of the worst decisions I've seen when we've been at this level of Call of Duty. I think this is a terrible business decision. It's terrible for their brand. The only reason I can ever think of them doing this is trying to save money. And that's it. They literally don't give a shit, and they're jettisoning the players so they can get cheaper players in.
You don't enter esports if you've got 100 quid to rub together. You know what I mean? It's not. You can't.
You say that, mate, but we've had all owners do that forever.
Yeah.
There's been orgs that have essentially just been lies and been funded by other teams.
Where did people get this? There's only one. You have to keep one person on the roster.
Don't know. I'm looking for the rule.
I'm reading it right now. It says you can make as many as you fucking want.
I think they re-updated the rules or something at one point, and they said you've got to keep them on as a sub or something like that. I'm pretty sure I've seen that at some point, but I mean I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm right though.
Yeah. Funkman saying you can't sack someone from not accepting a pay cut. Well, technically, you can offer them less money, and if they don't take it, then you can get rid of them under their contract, which just seems what's to be happening. And also, happened to me when I was when I used to work as a machine minder or a printer, as it was known. The company said, "Look, going to have to take a 15% pay cut, or unfortunately, we are going to shut." You don't have to take it. You can, leave and look for another job or whatever, but you're not going to be able to stay on the same money. Now, admittedly, that was in a union as well. So if we all negotiated against it, they'd have to come back with something else.
That's when Bricey was on 200 grand a year and he was just like, I'm just going to have to make these cuts.
Yeah.
Transferred that over to his daily
fee. That's what you get being a printer. It's great not dying trade.
But it's
but there are ways around, and it like if they're out of contract as well, which is what it seems to be, then you don't have to offer them more money. You can offer them less money, which apparently is what has happened, and they've chose to reject that. At that point, you're not legally on the hook for anything. You can go, he doesn't want to play for us. And the problem is what I'm saying. He hasn't been sacked. They haven't been fired, and their contract, or whatever, hasn't been done like that. They were offered less money for a new contract, and they just didn't accept it. From what I understand, what I was getting from that BZ video, or the clips
it seems to be considerably dropped down every single time. It said originally it was like 3,500, then it was dropped down to 3,000, and like it is like you've sort of been hanging them over a precipice and just sort of like accept it or you're gone. Which, I mean, I think that's what everyone's sort of getting to be in the bonnet about, is that yes, okay, it's shit, it fucking sucks. The guy that runs Accelerate is clearly an asshole at this point.
Grade A CUNT.
And unfortunately, he hasn't technically done anything wrong in terms of the CWL. However, if the players want to take it up with a personal lawyer, I'm sure they will, and I'm sure they would actually probably win something off him if they can be asked for lawyer fees, everything on top of it, for the sake of a couple of grand. That's probably what he's banking on, because lawyers aren't cheap, courts aren't cheap.
There's 5 of them, man. Like,
in this, well, still.
Well, here's where we get into the story, like, because this is the bit I don't understand. Like, I've heard a few different stories, and this is why I would like it to be clarified by the player. And I would like to just find out what the true story is, because the chat's right here, right? Out of contract is a different story. And if they send new contracts where they're still in contract, you have every right not to sign that contract. However, if your contract is such a piece of shit that you can be let go and they can just go, bollocks to you, get out, and that's it, then you literally are bollocksed. Like, you are in a serious amount of trouble, because at that point, if they've offered you a new contract and you said no, and they went, we can release you for no consequences anyway, well, what can you do? Nothing. You can't do anything. They haven't done anything wrong. That's the contract they were on. So, I haven't, this whole threatening and blackmail, it's a very harsh thing to say, blackmail. It's not like, they took their dog and said, if you don't, it's going in the river. You know what I mean? Like, it's very different kind of scenario. It's one of these ones where, look, they've clearly said, look, we have the option of picking up new players, which is apparently what they do have. So right now we think, here's a new contract we would like you to sign. Otherwise, as per our contract, or piece of shit, as you could call it, we can just let you go and just kick you from the team. You'll be released, get out.
I mean, as Mark said, it's a good learning curve for a lot of people. This, because
it's not, though. It's not a good learning curve.
It should be, though. It should be.
It's not, because this shit has happened for the last 8 years.
I know, but it keeps happening. That's the point. It's just like, stop.
So it's not a good learning curve, because no fucker ever learns.
Nah, people have learned from it. Like,
some vets have learned from it, but the problem is the whole scene isn't vets. There is nobody telling these kids what is the correct thing to sign.
That team that qualified is.
They've been around for a long time. They've been salaried a long time.
Not at this level.
Yeah, they've not been pro league level, but they should.
I shouldn't have said kid. I was talking in the general terms of like new 18-year-old players coming up. That's what I meant. I didn't mean that team specifically. I meant in terms of like the new players coming up, and it usually is. You'll notice the newer players who get caught. It's basically a sign, all that sort of stuff. I was talking in generics. This team. Maybe they should know better, but they haven't played at this level. Like this isn't like usual for them, right?
No, it was equally their fault. They wanted to quit. They wanted to make some money, so they signed with a shady org. They could have done what Spacey and that done and waited, and then signed something and been more secure. Okay, Spaces got dropped, but that's the story for like later. But they could have realistically, literally done what Space and that done. Didn't force anything with these shit amateur orgs. Qualified for the league if they had that much belief in themselves. And then got a better org. None of this would have happened. In a roundabout way, they just wanted a quick buck. It was like midnight when they were all complaining about how they weren't being sold. And I can guarantee you, in fact, I know now, they signed for midnight for like a £500 signing bonus just for the one event. They didn't expect to qualify for the league, and they did. And then they threw their toys out the pram when they weren't going to be sold, when midnight weren't selling them.
Yeah.
It's equally the players' fault just as much as the org's fault. Don't get me wrong, but this ExG is straight scummy. Simple as that. It should never even come down to this.
All right, let's
you can go around and talk say rah. But at the end of the day, it should never have come down to them dropping their whole team and then replacing them.
Yeah, I mean, if they were like 0 and 7, like you.
I don't even care if they're 0 and 7. Like they've played 2 weeks
before they made the change.
They've played 2 weeks in a pro league. 1 week with a new player, and then they've been dropped. They've not even been able to get home, practice, and go to another event. Like there's still. I'd say 5 months left of the year, right? Yeah, 5 months.
Yeah.
4 months left. We'll say about 4 months left of the year. Give them a bit of fucking time, man. Holy fuck.
Yeah, and I mean that further looks at the whole. Actually, I'm not going to get into that. I was about to talk about the analysts and the denial thing, but. I don't know if we've got time to break that down and the rest of the shit that we got to talk about.
No, let's move on. There are talks of other roster moves going on, and we've heard bits here. There's talks about some of the old FaZe players slipping into various positions and so on and so forth here. But here's the thing about that: is like it doesn't matter. There's always going to be a player moved out in any sort of roster move. I also noticed that it was very interesting that someone said the top 5 of the lowest 15 KDs have been switched out, which I found interesting just because we tend not to try to go off KD. or at least it isn't supposed to matter as much as some people think.
Mark's sitting there seeing who he can get rid of. Who can I replace?
Mark actually brought his team up right now. He's looking for the free agent thread. Marky, Marky, you've obviously coach of Splice. I'm not going to ask you if you're making any moves or anything, but has it been an interesting kind of roster mania? And I mean, there's probably been some players hitting you up for a spot or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. People hitting us up, but we're not making any moves. But yeah, that's all I can really say.
That's what you think.
There's, they're moving Reedy.
I'm smoothing him for that job. Let's get it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that's probably going to happen. Reedy's replacing me, but apart from that, nothing.
No. Oh, okay. So something looks like it's kicked off from what Reedy's just tweeted there.
Yeah, but am I shocked?
Reedy, what have you done?
No. He hasn't tweeted. Sorry, what Reedy's put in the chat. This looks like the coach for Midnight. Still in disbelief how quickly this spiraled out. Actually, I'll put this in the chat. Yeah.
You put that in the chat.
This is only a few minutes ago. It's in the chat, but it's also now in the chat. So just to read out, still in disbelief how quickly this spiraled out of control. This has come from Midnight's COD coach. The team was looking unstoppable leading up to the event less than a week ago, dropping at most 2 maps a series unless it was versus OG, in which they were usually neck and neck. Sad to see the roster was forced to split. I want to thank blah, 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 blah. I want to wish the very best to the guys that I won't be working with anymore from here on out. Such an amazingly talented and dedicated group of players. So that's clearly sort of confirming what we said before about where they're probably shifting.
Again, so moving on to Midnight, they were on this podcast 3-4 weeks ago, Envoy was, and he couldn't have seemed happy. He's like, "Yeah, it's great. We never expected to do this well. We're fantastic. We couldn't be better."
Yeah.
Then they, didn't have the greatest week after.
What do you mean?
I think they lost to Gen G and someone else.
Rec.
That's Gen G and Rec. Still
went like 5-2.
5-2 team. And
Sam Spice in it? Yeah.
Nah, we got worse than that.
Oh, you went 4-3, did you?
Yeah, 4-3, yeah.
Yeah, you guys shit the bed
Heretics, it was the spiral.
Yeah. You guys threw everything on the pram.
We also
you did.
Yes, you did. Oh.
Nah, get on.
Marky retired after the event he played with Whalers. Whalers carries on playing and smokes his team. Ryan. Right, moving on swiftly.
It's just unlucky. It's just, and it happened with Moose as well at Champs. It's just, it's so lucky. It's just a MarkyB curse. Luckily, Mouse doesn't play anymore, so we're Gucci. The curse is no longer a thing. We're Gucci.
I just don't understand why that Midnight team has gone to bits. I really don't. Like, I don't know whether the orgs, the players have gone, let's jump so we get to a different org. Although the rumor of they're
going to accelerate.
Yeah, I mean, we hate Midnight. They're terrible. It's going to accelerate. That seems like
Fuck's sake, man.
But I don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand that move.
A lot of people talking about in the chat. A lot of people brought it up during the show, which I haven't seen personally. I don't know if it's been on Reddit. Parzelian to UYU.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, Mark's just confirmed that. Go on.
Oh, wait, that's
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure UYU have confirmed that, haven't they?
Oh, wait, Mark knows something I don't know.
I don't know. Have a look.
That'd be funny.
While we research that one,
they've released 2 players.
Let's talk about a different.
They've released 2 players.
Have they?
They released Guys and Spiff. Spiff was in the sub spot.
Oh, okay.
Let's the UIU tour. Anyway.
There's a pair of sources on the roster change. I think Deserto tweeted it out. Let's talk about another roster move that we haven't really talked about here. There was a sub switch up for Reciprocity that has admittedly, now that all this shit has kicked off, everyone has forgotten. It's like, doesn't matter. Is it Dylan Codd switched out for Dens?
Yeah,
correct.
Which a lot of people thought was going to happen. People were asking them why they didn't do it.
I think getting Dylan in was a good idea because the team wasn't doing great. I feel bad for Dens a little bit.
He didn't seem. He had a very professional Twitter. I think that's the problem. If he'd made a big fuss about it, then we'd be talking about it. Yeah. He was very calm.
I think Dylan was in the chat before as well, and I'd say this even if he wasn't. Like, I think he deserves a shot. He absolutely deserves a shot.
He definitely does. He's hungry.
I do feel bad for Dens though. I don't want to say the scapegoat for the team, but
The Australian prick, get off their team, get on the bench, you Australian
But
mug.
something wasn't working, something had to change,
Yeah.
and unfortunately for him, it was him. I think it just comes down to pacing, doesn't it? Like Dylan brings that extra pace that they potentially need.
He brings in a lot of extra pace.
He
Him and
brings
Zach
a lot,
running
yeah.
at you is going to be
It's going to be interesting to see how teams deal with it. So I don't know. I do feel bad for Dens, but I think it was a good move, probably.
I mean, I like how Reciprocity's done it as well. They're keeping Dens in house, probably still paying him a good amount of money. They're doing it how it should be done. Yeah, they're doing how it should be done. They're looking after the players. That's a very, very good org in my books. Like, they've just brought in a sub to see how stuff would work out with Dylan. I imagine if stuff doesn't work out with Dylan, Dens might come big and they might swap another player around and keep it in that little
That's how it should work. That's how this whole sub thing should be working.
I completely agree. Like, they've said for Fort Worth, you never know. Fort Worth could go horrible for him. Dylan doesn't perform and he goes back on the bench. You never know what could happen.
What if Rec didn't have Dylan on the bench? Someone pointed out, but they did. We spoke about
that's why they got a good sub.
Get yourself a good sub.
Yeah, they did the best thing getting him, because the thing is, even if they hadn't used him, they tie him into a contract with a mad buyout because everybody's seen him how good he was at the PLQ. They're laughing. Even if they don't use him, somebody would want him at some point. March has just swung around. You're telling me somebody wouldn't have potentially wanted to pick him up?
Tommy was dropped from Splice because he was the newer player or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not what happened with Tommy at all.
It's
the Tommy situation last year was completely fucking different. Mark had even. Mark, was you in Splice when that happened?
Nah.
Yeah, he was, because when we talked,
it's Mark's fault.
Because I remember ripping Mark for dropping people. That was hilarious.
Yeah, but that was just a.
That was dropping Dylan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's fine.
But like. The Tom situation was completely different. And again, Dens hasn't probably been dropped for skill-wise. Dens is a very talented player. It's just the pacing of that team was completely off.
I think that's a lot of teams are finding that. Like, you have to be
5v5.
I think Heretics have shown that
back is peeling like a prick, so I'm keeping scratching it. So it's annoying.
I think Heretics have shown that just balls out aggressive speed is a very, very good tactic on this game. Heretics are showing that you got that gun skill and you can play as a cohesive unit at what is admittedly balls out speed, because they play it like lunatics.
Mark's sitting there like, how do I figure this out?
Mark's actually big balling. Have you seen his pull for Fort Worth? It's got Midnight and Accelerate in there. Could you imagine it both get stripped? Just Luminosity and Splice going through top two.
But to sub myself in for those games.
Here's something, because I don't want to go back to Accelerate very quickly, but someone mentioned this earlier, and I think it is worth pointing out. This rule about you have to still have one player from the original 6. Is that actually a rule? Because BC thinks it is a rule, and it is. And I got linked these tweets that I didn't see before, admittedly, and they're now on Reddit. It's saying that fastball is also backed out of being their 6th.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. That's why they could be in trouble.
Yeah, they could be in trouble.
I'm fed up of talking about this shit org.
Yeah. But I'm just curious. I just need to see the rule. I just need to see where in the rule it says that, because it has to say it's
somewhere. Adam, contact Spencer. They'll tell you.
Just let me WhatsApp Adam.
Mark. Mark. Is there an actual rule?
I'm pretty sure there wasn't originally a rule, and then there was complaints about it. And then Adam or someone with League Ops and MLG, they announced a change to the ruling.
Let me have a read through. Use crack on.
Well, I remember them changing the ruling. I don't know if they've updated the handbook or whatever that everyone's reading from, or if
Look, if it's coming from Mark's mouth, I believe Mark. There's a fucking rule, and there it is. No, you can sit there and be like, I can't see the rule. I don't know if the rule's right. I can't see it.
I'm not lying to you, right? But I've never really had to read the handbook for playing in the Pro League. It may blow your mind that I just don't casually read the entire rule book when I have, when I don't have.
I can't see the rule.
50 pages long.
I don't know if this is the right rule book.
23.
I don't know if this is the right one, because I went to the team eligibility and it says a team is defined as 4 starting players. So therefore, I think it's the wrong one.
There you go. There's the new one right there, mate.
There you go. Right, get reading, Tunn.
I've already read through it. There's nothing in there.
Get Reedy done. So that's what he's here for. So let's
Section 6 ton. Nothing in there at section 6.
are we expecting any other moves? That's what we need to kind of talk. Are we expecting any other big moves?
I mean, what was going on with the United? Does anybody know?
I mean,
Because
I'm hearing Parasite's about to get on the Pro League team, and he's never qualified for a league in his life. So
well, he was one of the rumored
Wait,
players.
Parasite's really good in this game.
yeah, he might be
He's
really
decent
good on
at
this
this
game, but there's people like Madcat that are better than him, and he should be in the over Parasite, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, no doubt. There's like other players that you could put in that position, but I'd actually argue that Parasite's better than some of the players in the league currently.
I'd argue I'm better than some of the players in the league currently.
Oh yeah, I'd argue I'm. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that.
What do you mean?
I'm Spartacus.
I think you could play better than some of the players in the Pro League. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Nat Shea is Pathny. Like,
Easy, mate. Come on. We need to lay off denial. We need to lay off denial. I will accept no denial slander.
I like denial. I said to Whalers, I'll help him out. I'll coach him.
Oh God.
Oh, Bielfa's fucking on the rocks.
Yeah, he's on the
He's on the
ropes.
ropes.
Madcat is not better than Haggy. You're cracked. In the chat.
Wait, yeah, Dylan's really good at this game. I think people are
I'm
underrated.
surprised Dill isn't
That-
in there.
Well, there was a big rumor last week though, wasn't it, that him, Alex Lace, or something were trying to take over that accelerate spot. I don't know how true that was, but
honestly, at this point, you have players paying to be in the Pro League. It's generally going to happen.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I
paying to get
just don't think like that's fair. Like that's why there should be a relegation. Like if Haggy is about to be put in the Pro League, then fair enough. But if he earned his way in, then fair enough. But he's tried to qualify for the last 4 years and never qualified once. But I've qualified more times than him. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm better than Haggy in any means. He might be really fucking good at this game. In fact, he probably is really good at this game. But you know what I mean? Like I'd say there are more deserving players out there. But he's probably just doing a very good job at brown-nosing right now.
it doesn't really say anything about transferring players out at all. There's nothing really in there.
No, I told you there was nothing in there.
I'm double checking. I'm double.
Well, then why are people saying there's a rule?
Because Marky heard it from the horse's mouth.
No, this is what I'm trying to say. It's not in the actual rule book. I'm pretty sure there was like a Reddit thread made by Spencer or something. Unless I'm dreaming this, I've 100% seen this. There was like an update to the rules after the PLQ. They said we have changed our decision on some of the things in CWL rule book. Here's an update. There was like a Reddit thread, and there was like people talking about it, and this definitely happened. But it may have been in my dreams.
All right. Well,
Hold on, I'm googling.
I'm taking Mark's word for it.
all right. Here's what we're going to do now. We are going to talk about what is essentially Reddit and their confirmed changes and speculated changes list. If we haven't covered any of these, so Skies and Spoofs for free agency, Spacely restricted free agent, Ruby B, Beezy, Believe, Profizi, Mem Ruiz, all to a free agent. Vicento retired. We haven't even talked about Big Man Vicento.
Who have EG got in that case?
Attach. They're playing with Attach.
No, well.
I mean,
Makes
I
sense.
don't agree with. I'm still pissed off at Bryce because he cooked my career into the ground in that last series. He played
Yeah, he's
amazing,
got a great name.
and then he retires. Like I think Bryce is a great player, man. I think people aren't utilizing him well enough.
And he's got a great name, which
He's
Phil
got to be
couldn't
around the
pick.
right players too. I think
Yeah.
he's got to have the right tools. That people that
I mean, I
believe
wish
in.
I could have teamed with that fool, man. He's a fucking great guy.
Yeah, no, I really like Bruce too. But also, I just think it's just doing with the players. I think he has to have players around him that actually believe in his like sort of mentality and work it, like the way he works and shit like that. Do you know what I mean?
Bro, I don't know how they won because he literally cooked my team into another dimension and got him into the Pro League. But if he
He's
wasn't
good.
playing that
He's good.
series,
He's good.
if he weren't playing that series, they don't get top 2 in our group.
I cannot believe Viceno is retiring. It seems like such a. I mean, admittedly, he's just chosen to go out on his own terms. In terms of like, he's not trying to long it on.
I didn't get a fucking.
But I honestly think he probably should. I want to see Viceno play. I don't know. He's obviously just read the situation right now and chosen to stop.
Wait, what's Desi tweeting out? Is Desi left G2? Because if Desi's out of G2, then he's going to be on the team 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
I thought the problem with Decimate wasn't the rumor like first of all they asked like 400k for him, then 200k.
I don't know.
Like, wasn't that Decimate I heard that about?
250. It was 250.
Some ridiculous number.
I can't see anything on Reddit, by the way.
All right, well let's move on because there's still tons of other players on this list, by the way. I mean, this isn't a big one. Chain and Hawkeye going out into going into Lightning Pandas. Josh and Alex going into free agency.
Well, Alex is with Team Sween.
Yeah.
Madcat's left Lightning Pandas now. So
Yeah. Who won the national qualifier? Was it Team Sween? I presume.
Yeah.
I presume Team Sween won it. Yeah.
national UK national, it was Team Sween.
Yeah, that's good.
Team Sween.
That's good.
They're probably going to be one of the top contenders to take
100%.
the open bracket. Should be.
Oh yeah, I put them as my favourites. Even if you put in teams with some of the players that didn't make, they were in the pro league, I'd still consider them better than those guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were good. Team.
Yeah.
They dropped Brain, didn't they? Dropped Brain, brought in Alex. Was that it?
Dropped Brain, brought in Alex, and then they obviously
don't have
lost
Dylan
Dylan
anymore.
Cod.
Yeah.
Well, now they're playing with Cammy, I believe.
Yeah.
I think they're playing with Cammy.
Cammy MVP, Scottish Warlord.
Losing Dylan's going to be bad, though. Anyway.
Yeah, most definitely.
Moving to Amazer Gaming, obviously, got their new lineup.
Don't know who that is.
Twiz, Legal, Remy, Bullseye, and Drama.
Oh,
Got the
I'll be
Amazer.
covering people like this.
Well, mate, these are still relevant players.
Is there no other rumors for CWL teams? Get me involved.
I haven't gone to the rumours yet. This is just confirmed. I haven't gone to rumours yet.
Fuck that. Let's get to the rumors.
All right, the rumours.
Let's get the mixture.
So I think we've already covered most of these rumours. It basically passes.
I've got a rumour for you.
Tino to Enigma 6.
Oh
And
wait!
I've got
Oh
a rumor.
my god, bro!
That's
What is
the
it?
other
What is it with E6 and doing Cade the way they do Cade? Cade seems to always get them into a pro league. Next thing you know, Cade's getting dropped. I don't know if Cade's that bad of a player, but
Yeah,
fuck me.
I think
I always see Cade getting a short end of
He
the
was
stick
sick
with
at the
E6.
PLQ. I'm sure he was the highest KD at the PLQ. He fucking fried people.
Chino has been playing good online as well, to be fair. I think he's been putting a lot of time into 8s and stuff. Probably brown nosing a little bit. We all love Money Chin, but that's probably what's been happening.
He's got the experience, so I suppose you could say. But it's still, I still do feel for any players that have been dropped after the PLQ, because for me, you haven't even had a shot at an event. I think you had to. I think the difficulty is that after Fort Worth, when's the next roster change? It's not for a while, is it? It's not until after the second part of the Pro League.
It says that in the handbook, mate. If you want to see it.
Yeah, I'm not reading through it again. I've been reading through it for 10 minutes.
Let's talk about. There is one last.
The second transfer period is April 5th through April 22nd, so you get you get 2 weeks there, and then the last period is June 17th through June 20th, which you get 3 days.
I'm also correct in saying it's the last day of roster.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
March 8th. No, wait. The last. I don't know if it's locks at 8th. It's the 8th. It says here, March 8th. So I don't know if it locks at midnight or what.
Probably. Here's one last thing I want to talk about. What on earth happened with the United? Because we don't really know. There was a lot of stuff coming out about. Clay was obviously tweeting heavily over 2 days. And
I saw the Codburner tweet out how Prestini went to management and then wanted Clay dropped, and then Clay said not Clay. United said not a chance. He's the face of the organization, and then apparently Prestini said to Burns, "Grow some fucking balls," some bullshit along those lines, and then it ended up that they released Prestini, they got rid of Prestini because of all that shit happened, and then apparently the twins' mums had to beg and say sorry for him or something like that. That's what the Codburner tweeted out.
Wow, that sounds.
That's a long story short.
But that's interesting, just because teams thinking in terms of a franchise player, which isn't dumb. Regardless of what you think of a player's skill, a franchise player is a big thing. Because if you have that face of the brand, Optic with Scump, right? They have their franchise player. You can make that marketable than you can just having someone who's not as well liked. And you got to remember, this is return of investment for orgs. That's a big thing. And it's interesting to see that United are thinking that way. And I think more orgs will be thinking that way because it makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know who all the faces of orgs would be at the moment. Mark's left. So I don't know who Splices is. It'll be.
Splice would be Shotzi, mate. He's not even 18 yet, but it'll be Shotzi as soon as he turns 18 because the kid's an animal.
But didn't he? Oh no, he didn't play at Vegas, did he?
No, he didn't
go.
because he was too young. But when he turns 18, I'll tell you one thing: that kid's going to be a fucking superstar.
Frosty's transferred over really nicely from Halo. So he keeps getting better. He keeps getting better, and it's a dangerous thing for other people that because if he reaches Halo level, it's over basically for everybody else. Simp, what do we think? I think Simp could definitely be a player. I mean, he seems to be. Look, I've never watched him play much outside of seeing these fucking shit online, but seems to win a lot of local events that he goes to, some things like that. It seems to be gassed up by quite a lot of people, so it'll be interesting to see if he gets on the team before the end of the year.
All right. Well, let's move on to the kind of questions in the chat. There are a few things in the chat. Some of them I'm not going to talk about here because I opened up a whole can of worms. So people saying Zuma had lots of offers but has a big buyout. That doesn't surprise me.
It'd be huge.
Yeah.
After the whole thing where Optic wanted him, that buyout will be insane.
Yeah. Apparently, the Justin Go from ExG tried to sell their team to Tainted Minds for 150k. Not surprising. Teams that should have made changes. Is there any teams we can think of that didn't make a change that probably should have?
Yeah.
Go on.
Fucking Splice. I need to get rid of the Jardy. He's got shit haircut. No, I'm joking. Honestly.
Although he did have like one of the worst weeks I've ever seen. The last week it just didn't go well.
Yeah, that last week was just meh. Actually, I don't even know. I would say.
Actually, I don't know because I think the whole thing about
it's
the whole
too early. No one should make changes.
It is very early.
Early play.
I think one of my
after this next event, maybe you can talk about it. But
if you've got a good sub, it might be a good time to try that sub out. If you've got a good one,
yeah, maybe. But majority of the people have people like Happy. You right there, Splice?
Mark, just to catch you up, Mark, we're talking about any teams that should have potentially made changes.
All right. Who have you said so far?
No one. We can't think of anybody.
I think it's too early, Mark. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's right before the event. No one's really going to make any changes. I think that everyone's seen basically. Look at what happened with Accelerate, right? MarkyB was probably a better player than Fastballer, but like they realistically had no practice together. Mm-hmm. He plays at a different speed than Fastball. Fastball is more like aggressive. MarkyB uses a sub, but plays like a less aggressive sub. I think that a lot of these teams, like if they make changes now, like the amount of time they have turnover to go to the event, they wouldn't have the best practice. So it's probably best for near enough every single team just to remain the same unless they have crazy issues.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I think it is too soon. The only thing I can think of in this roster change period is finding yourself a better sub if there's one available. Like just so you have it in the bank before the next thing, because that gives you the flexibility between this roster period and the next roster period to make a change if you have to. But I don't think many teams are thinking like that. Let's move on.
I think it's good to have like an all-star player as a sub. That's why I've decided to put myself in the sub spot because obviously I'm insane. Nah, real talk. It is important for some teams in particular to have a good substitute player.
I think it's just, I mean, if the org isn't too worried about the reduced salary, if you can find a good player to get them on a sub spot, it is definitely a good idea. And I'm surprised more teams haven't, because some teams have kind of just gone, oh, we'll just have that sub. If I was at the org saying, well, you know what, we can actually sub this sub in whenever we need to. I would. Let's just do it. Let's have a little go. I don't know if they can do it though.
Most teams are. I'm pretty sure near enough every team isn't paying their sub a salary. I don't know any. I don't really think that's a thing yet.
I think it should be.
It might be. I mean, I think it should be. Yeah, it will obviously be a thing. It's going to be mandatory, I'd assume.
Yeah.
But, I think that right now most teams don't really see the sub slot as a serious thing. Bar like we talked about probably last time I was on here. Bar a few teams that have like those issues that they want a player there just in case, like Dylan Cod, for example, that was a great sub for Esports to have because now, like, obviously they've moved them in, but I guess that wasn't really when they needed to use them. But
so guys, let's move on. Someone asked, is Codburner a reliable source? Well, I don't know because I don't know who it is. They don't seem to get a lot wrong. Well, I don't know who.
Yeah, they don't get much wrong. He doesn't get much wrong.
If I knew who Codburner was, I would tell you whether or not they were a reliable source.
If I knew who Codburner was, I'd love to have him on. I'd want to know.
Just how do you know he hasn't been on?
That's very true. Yeah, how do I know he's not on?
He could be on right now.
Could be on right now. Maybe that's MarkyB, man.
Maybe it is MarkyB. You know, like that's why he's never appeared in any interview because he can't cover up that accent. You tell it's MarkyB straight away.
if you got the cod burner on, it was generally like when they do those like crime scene things where it's like blacked out.
Oh,
and you
it's
can't see what it
quite
is.
much.
It's like,
Bro, I'm not even gonna lie. It would actually be great
the cod
if the Cod Burner actually wanted to make bank. He could literally set up a Twitch stream, get a green screen, have a mask on, voice changer, bing bang bosh Bob's your uncle.
Yeah.
Just go live for like 10 seconds. Jacob's getting
I'd
dropped.
sit there.
Offline.
I'd sit there and be like, I want 200 subs for the next Intel. People will probably do it.
what like just a stream with a little pot in the middle, just no webcam, black screen with a pot. As soon as you get to 500, he just goes, "Jacob's being released."
Yeah, that would be the best thing ever. That would work as well. The worst thing about it is it would work. You'd have pro players paying in just to find out what's going on.
I'd 100%. Yo, that's a good idea, boys. Let's get involved. We can just start making up fake.
Pretend with the cop money, yeah. Infinity, I'm not going to cover that one because it's too big of a topic. Do you ever think RCEs will split from Prestini? I think RCE Skillsini is so much higher. I think it will happen.
Yeah.
I think if the opportunity arises, I think if like it's one of those ones where it's like, oh, that new offer I've got is a slightly better team. I don't think he's going to take it. If it's like some crazy offer, like a massive maybe salary upgrade or a position in one of the top teams, like an optic or. It just depends on. I guess it just depends on the opportunity. But I do feel like it will. But
you've seen twins break up before, like the Marshall boys. Marshall and all that, and also like the Ogres. They eventually broke up. I don't know why I call them. I don't know why I call them the Marshalls.
That's the second name. Matthew Marshall, Bradley Marshall.
Yeah, no, but I don't know why I'm calling them the Marshall. Yeah, I did say Marshall. I don't understand why I did that.
He said Marshall and Brad broke up or something. I was like, what?
Yeah, that's why I was moving on. All right, I get it. The Ogres, they broke. They went on different teams at one point.
Yeah.
Scump and Joe, they're on different teams.
Wait, hold on.
Actually,
you guys have forgot about the most. Wait, actually, they weren't twins. Never mind.
Go on, say it. Who was it?
Sowersby brothers.
The Sowersby brothers.
Yes.
The brothers.
The most famous European trio of brothers. One of them was only good at Minecraft. The other two were decent at COD.
Good at Minecraft and decent at throwing tournaments.
They made some really good montages.
Oh god, their COD was beast. Oh my god.
By the way, if you don't understand what we're talking about, this is some really old European shit. So let's move on because most of the players not only will not know who they are, will not give a shit.
We're old, man. Holy shit.
Which players do you think will end in a midnight roster?
We were talking about
MarkyB.
before. Oh no, the midnight roster. Okay.
I've heard rumors that it's a load of players outside the league. That's what I've heard.
Basically, they've got a bowl like the Champions League bowl with 100 balls in them and names mixer and they've dashed them.
Here we go. Here's your ARs. Here's your subs.
David Trezeguet and fucking Andrea Pirlo to put their hands in the mixture and just fucking dash them everywhere and then 5 players.
I think they've got a big group DM chat and they just put in various prices and they're like 2 packets of crisps and a Coke and see which players stick their hand. Oh god. Right, let's move on because what we were talking about anyway was crap, so it doesn't matter that we've missed it.
Guess what game I'm playing, guys?
Who cares? Do you think United regains from their internal problems in time for Fort Worth?
Nope.
No, I don't think so.
I
think Fort Worth is going to be very interesting for that team.
I think they do well.
I think they do okay, but I think anything less than even top 2 is going to just cause everything to flare up again.
They're all very professional guys, and they can handle. I've seen them like they have mad arguments all the time. They're going to be able to just handle themselves when it comes to actual matches. That's just the way they are as players. Like when it comes to game time, Clay's going to gas them.
Yeah.
What?
Sorry. Never mind.
Are you
Reedy's playing a game while we're talking, and he's actually shouting at somebody in game. Fantastic.
No, I'm not. This guy's playing music down my ear, down my head. And
there's some guy playing games with me while I'm trying to run.
I thought you were telling me to shut up. I was supposed to listen.
I was about. I know that's why I stopped because I realised what it was about to sound like.
People saying GodRx onto EG. People want GodRx on AG, like big time.
I think there's other. I really like GodRx, sound guy in that. I think there's other players that are better than GodRx that could get on EG. European players. I feel like European players in this period have been massively overlook, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, like the Lightning Panthers and Team Sweden guys, 2 teams that placed top 6 last event. How the hell are those players not in the mixture? Like,
I don't understand. I really don't understand that.
It's because they're European.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is literally the answer as well.
If they were based in America, they'd have been picked up.
I think if those 2 teams were American teams that came top 6.
Yeah, but then the thing is, you got to think about visas and stuff. So,
yeah, it's bad. Let's move on. Do you think OG wins Fort Worth now? Dashy's back. I mean,
I was having this conversation with somebody. I think it was I can't remember who I was having it with, but I think if you were to put your money on anybody, you'd probably put it on OG. To be fair, or not?
I don't know.
My issue is, how do you tell?
If you would have to pick anybody, they make sense.
I mean, they do. I mean, all right, I tell you why. I tell you why. Here's why I wouldn't, is the fact that we haven't seen enough of them, obviously because they haven't had Dashy.
I agree.
Why I would is that nobody else in the league looks untouchable. There isn't a single team in that league that doesn't look like they have some issues somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I'd argue. Jordan.
Sorry.
It's very rude. Very rude.
I mean, we're literally right at the end, fortunately. So, can you think? What about you, Marky? I mean, obviously you're slightly biased.
No. I mean, not even trying to remove my bias from this. I generally think this event is up for grabs for a fucking massive bunch of teams. I'd say, like, before Vegas, there was quite clearly like good teams and bad teams just for online practice, and there was just an obvious divide there. I think now a lot of the teams have caught up. A lot of the teams have got better. I think there's going to be a lot more upsets and a lot more different results. I think you could definitely see a whole bunch of teams winning the event, to be honest with you. I don't think it's clear cut whatsoever. But yeah, I kind of can see what you're saying about if you had to pick a team, if you had to pick one singular team, then OG is definitely one of those teams you'd consider like as higher favourites than other teams.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think on that note, we will end this episode of Spitfire here. Thank you all for watching. I'm sure we've said many controversial things, mainly Reedy. But as always, we are always willing to listen and get more people involved. If you do want to be involved in Spitfire, of course, make sure you leave a comment underneath the YouTube video, which will be on EGL tomorrow, but it's now if you're watching. Also, I'm sure people on Reddit have many things to say about what we've said here, some of it which I think we've probably leaked. Well, screw it. Reedy, first of all, thank you very much for coming on, as usual.
Ni bother, pal, ni bother. Anytime.
Even though he's playing games at the end.
Yeah.
Wait, no. I wasn't.
Yeah, sure. Anything you would like to add as a leaving last sort of thing?
Yeah, fuck ExG.
Oh, brilliant. Right, Marky, thanks for jumping in halfway. Always good to have you on, buddy.
No worries at all, man. No worries at all.
Anything you would like to add as a leaving statement?
I'd love to answer this guy's question in the chat. For Mark, what went wrong in Spice's last week of League, especially in Hardpoint? Honestly, man, we just played dog shit. And there you go. That's my answer for that one.
There's the depth of Mark's coaching.
Yeah, there's in-depth knowledge that I provide to the Spice Call of Duty team.
There's a whiteboard somewhere after the event.
Just said
Mark's just written dog shit on the board, circled it, and then just kept pointing at it and then pointing at the players.
I wasn't doing that. I was just pointing out our rotations, and then I put just a pile of poo there. No actual physical poo. I was throwing it at the board.
Right, well, you know, so you might have clogged the toilet. I have heard that happens in pro teams.
Fast clogger.
Can't anything else?
No. As I said, I know we talked about trying to get a giveaway sorted for our 20th episode, which will be after Fort Worth. But we are going to try and do a pre-Fort Worth episode, depending on when flights and stuff are. I'd imagine it'll be Monday or Tuesday, maybe even Monday or Tuesday. I'm not doing it Sunday. Well, we usually fly on a Wednesday, don't we?
Oh yeah, true.
Wait, is that Bricey confirmed?
Nah. I'm not confirmed for anything, mate.
I'm joking.
Talk about talent, mate.
I know you should give away before. Sorry, I know I'm interrupting the end of your video, but you should really recall one of the EGL's old sponsors and give away a pair of gamer gloves.
No, what about
They
Rejo 32?
Some Rejo 42 coffee.
Rejo 42.
Great cuppa.
All right. Well,
Unbelievable.
on that
Coffee
note,
machine.
thank you all so much for watching this episode of Spitfire. Hopefully, it's been slightly entertaining and slightly, you know, a little bit more about what's going on in the background. But thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time.
See you later, guys.
Can't wait for G-Finity London. Let's get it.
Oh god, I'm definitely having that.